My father transferred the deed without telling me. That was how I found out. Not through a conversation, not through a warning, through a certified letter from the county recorder's office. Property ownership change, effective immediately. The address listed was 112 Crestwood Lane, the house my grandmother left to me, not to him. To me. I was 29 when she passed. She made it clear in her will. Claire will understand how to protect it. My father never forgave her for that sentence. He said it embarrassed him. He said it made him look incapable. What it did was remove control. And control was the only language he spoke fluently. The letter stated the transfer had been filed under a power of attorney. Signed, notarized, legal. My signature was on the document. At least something that looked like it. I knew immediately what he had done. 3 months earlier, he had asked me to sign insurance updates. Routine paperwork, he said. I was in the middle of closing a corporate contract for my consulting firm. I skimmed, I signed. He had slipped a limited power of attorney into the stack. Property authorization included. I didn't shout. I didn't call him immediately. I drove to the county office instead, requested certified copies, pulled every page, read each line slowly. The transfer placed the house into an LLC, Crestwood Holdings. Registered owner Daniel Mercer, my father. He called that evening, calm, almost cheerful. I handled Crestwood for you, he said. You were too busy to manage it properly. You forged authorization, I replied. I protected the asset. You transferred it. It's still in the family. That was the betrayal, not theft, not desperation. Control disguised as protection. I ended the call without raising my voice. Then I called an attorney, not a family friend, not someone from his Rotary circle, a litigation specialist in Richmond. I emailed every document, every signature, every timeline. She called me back within the hour. This is actionable, she said. Forgery, fraudulent inducement, abuse of fiduciary authority. He thought paperwork protected him. He forgot I built my career around reading it. I didn't confront him again, not yet. I filed a civil injunction first. Freeze on asset sale, freeze on restructuring. Quiet, strategic, measured. He had moved the deed without asking. Now the court would move it back. And this time, he wouldn't see it coming. Section 2. The injunction was approved in 48 hours. Temporary freeze on Crestwood Holdings. No sale, no refinancing, no restructuring. The house could not move again without the court's permission. When my father received the notice, he called immediately. His voice wasn't cheerful this time. What did you file? He demanded. A protective order, I said. You're overreacting. I'm responding. You're dragging family into court. You brought paperwork into it first. Silence, then the tone shifted. You don't understand how these things work. I understand them very well. That was the problem. Crestwood Lane wasn't just property. It was leverage. The house sat on half an acre near the river. Developers had been circling for 2 years. My father had mentioned it casually more than once. If we ever sold that lot, it would fund real growth. He said we. The will did not say we. It said Claire Mercer. Sole beneficiary, free and clear. My attorney, Rebecca Shaw, moved quickly. We filed a petition challenging the power of attorney. Claim, fraud by misrepresentation. The document he slipped into the insurance packet was real. But the explanation attached to it was, he had labeled the stack policy renewals. Not property authority, that distinction mattered. Intent matters. Context matters. Paper only protects you if it's clean. He hired counsel within the week, a firm from downtown, expensive, aggressive. The response they filed painted me as inexperienced. Ms. Mercer signed willingly. Ms. Mercer lacks property management expertise. Mr. Mercer acted in good faith to preserve value. Good faith, that phrase almost made me laugh. Good faith doesn't hide clauses between insurance updates. Good faith doesn't register an LLC the same day. Good faith doesn't avoid telling the beneficiary. The first hearing was procedural. No drama, no raised voices, just timelines and affidavits. I sat straight in my chair, navy suit, minimal jewelry. My father didn't look at me. He looked at the judge, as if authority always belonged upward, never beside him. Rebecca submitted metadata from the email attachments he'd sent. Insurance packet labeled clearly in the subject line. No mention of property authority. We included text messages from that week. Him asking me to sign quickly so nothing lapses. No clarification, no disclosure. He had assumed I wouldn't check. That assumption was his mistake. Outside the courthouse, he finally faced me. "You're embarrassing me," he said quietly. "You embarrassed yourself." "It's just a house." "No," I said. "It's a boundary." His jaw tightened. "You've always been dramatic." "I've always been prepared." I walked past him. Not angry, not shaking, just focused. 2 weeks later, Rebecca called. "We subpoenaed the notary," she said. The signature had been stamped without me present. Remote verification claimed, but the logbook didn't match. The timestamp was off by 3 hours. The notary had processed multiple forms in the same minute. Impossible. Small details, clean cuts. He built this on shortcuts, and shortcuts collapse under light. The second hearing was scheduled for mid-June. By then, the developer who'd been circling Crestwood Lane withdrew interest. Nobody touches disputed property. The leverage he wanted evaporated. Quietly, efficiently, just like he moved the deed. I never once asked him to return it voluntarily. I didn't negotiate. I didn't threaten. I followed procedure, because the strongest revenge isn't loud. It's documented. Section 3. The second hearing lasted 22 minutes. No theatrics, no raised voices, just paper. Rebecca began with the timeline. Insurance renewal email. Power of attorney buried in the attachment stack. LLC registration filed 48 hours later. Deed transfer recorded the same afternoon. Efficiency like that isn't protection. It's premeditation. The notary testified remotely. Her logbook was entered into evidence. 4 signatures processed within the same minute, including mine. She admitted she never saw me in person. She verified identity based on prior familiarity. I had never met her. The judge didn't interrupt. He didn't react. He simply wrote notes. That was enough. My father's attorney leaned on authority. He is her father. He has managed family assets for decades. He acted in the best interest of long-term value. The judge looked up at that. Best interest requires disclosure. That sentence shifted the room, not loudly, but permanently. Rebecca submitted the will, highlighted clause. Property to remain solely under Claire Mercer's ownership. Clear, unambiguous. My grandmother had underlined it herself before signing. Rebecca didn't dramatize it. She let the ink speak. When it was my turn to testify, I stood, hands steady, voice level. I was told the documents were insurance renewals. I was not informed they included property authority. I did not authorize transfer of title. No anger, no performance, just fact. My father avoided my eyes. For the first time in my life, he had no speech prepared. The ruling came the following week. Fraudulent inducement established. Improper notarization confirmed. Power of attorney invalidated retroactively. Transfer void. Deed restored to original beneficiary, Claire Mercer, effective immediately. He called that evening, not defensive, not aggressive, just tired. "You went too far," he said. "I went exactly far enough. You could have handled this privately. You moved it privately." Silence. "I was trying to build something bigger," he added, "with my property." He didn't answer, because there wasn't one. The LLC dissolved within days. Crestwood Holdings closed. Developer interest redirected elsewhere. His leverage disappeared, not because I attacked it, because it was never clean to begin with. 2 weeks later, the certified deed arrived. Recorded, stamped, filed, my name alone. I placed it in a fireproof folder, not out of fear, out of habit. Documentation protects what emotion can't. He came to Crestwood Lane one Saturday afternoon, stood at the edge of the yard, hands in his pockets. "I didn't think you'd fight me," he said. "I didn't think you'd test me." He looked at the house, then back at me. "You're different lately." "I'm consistent." He almost smiled, almost. Then he nodded once and left. No apology, no reconciliation, just recognition. The house remained untouched, unleveraged, unmoved, exactly as my grandmother intended. Section 4. The court ruling ended the transfer. It didn't end the tension. My father stopped calling, stopped offering advice, stopped pretending we were aligned. For the first time in my life, he had no legal authority over something that mattered. And he felt it. Crestwood Lane became quiet again. I drove there every Sunday morning, walked the perimeter, checked the gutters, reviewed the insurance coverage myself, not because I didn't trust anyone, because I understood something now. Control isn't loud, it's maintained. 3 weeks after the ruling, a letter arrived. Not from him, from his bank. Notice of loan restructuring. Daniel Mercer had leveraged anticipated proceeds from the Crestwood sale. Bridge financing, short-term, high interest. The deal collapsing left him exposed. He had counted on that $410,000. He had already moved as if it existed. That was his habit. Act first, correct later. This time, correction was expensive. He called the following evening. No greeting. "I need advice." I didn't respond immediately. "On what?" I asked. "The loan." "You have an attorney." "This isn't legal." "It's strategic." He paused. He had never asked me for strategy before, only compliance. "You assumed a sale before it closed," I said. "Yes." "You leveraged projected capital." "Yes." "You ignored contingency risk." Silence. I thought it was guaranteed. Nothing is guaranteed. He exhaled slowly. The sound wasn't frustration. It was realization. "I can sell something else," he said. "Then sell it." "You wouldn't. Consider buying into it." There it was, the reversal, not dominance. Dependence. I didn't laugh. I didn't gloat. "I don't invest in unstable positions," I said calmly. Another silence. "You've changed." "No," I said. I stopped negotiating against myself. The next week, he listed a parcel he'd owned for years. Not sentimental land, not inherited, just acreage. It sold within a month, below what he wanted, but enough. His bridge loan stabilized, crisis contained, by his own action, not mine. He came by Crestwood again in late August. No agenda, no paperwork, just standing near the fence. "I miscalculated you," he said. "Yes." "I thought you'd avoid conflict." "I avoid noise." He nodded once, then added, almost quietly, "Your grandmother would have approved." That was the closest thing to acknowledgement I would get, and it was enough. The boundary held. The property remained mine. No shared management. No family oversight. No joint decisions, just clear ownership, recorded, respected. Section 5. Autumn returned to Crestwood Lane without negotiation. Leaves gathered along the fence line. The river ran low and steady. The house stood exactly as it had before the transfer. But something fundamental had shifted. Not the property, the balance. I refinanced the insurance under my own brokerage, updated the estate plan, filed a living trust. No gaps, no ambiguous authority, every signature deliberate, every clause reviewed. If someone ever attempted to move it again, They would meet resistance before they found leverage. My father stopped trying to manage anything that wasn't his. He stopped offering advice disguised as instruction. When he visited, he stayed near the driveway. Didn't step onto the porch unless invited. It wasn't fear, it was awareness. A line had been drawn, and he understood it. One evening in October, he brought a folder. Not legal documents, old photographs, my grandmother in the garden, me at 7 years old holding a watering can. He handed them to me without comment. "I thought you should have these," he said. I took them. No speech followed, no apology attached, just transfer, this time voluntary. We stood beside the fence for a few minutes. Wind moving through the trees, no urgency, no control. "You didn't have to destroy me to protect yourself," he said quietly. "I didn't destroy you," I replied. "I corrected you." He looked at the river, then nodded. That was the resolution, not reconciliation, not warmth, recognition. The next week, I approved minor renovations on Crestwood. New roof, updated wiring, long-term value improvements, not for resale, for preservation. My grandmother believed in stability over speculation. So do I. The deed remains in my name, clear, unchallenged, filed properly. My father and I speak occasionally, brief conversations, whether family updates, neutral ground. He no longer uses the word "we" when referring to Crestwood. He says "your house." That correction is small but permanent. I never raised my voice, never staged a confrontation, never asked him to admit guilt publicly. I let procedure speak. I let documentation transfer power. I let consequence replace argument. The betrayal began with a signature hidden in a stack of papers. It ended with one restored by court order. Not dramatic, not explosive, just precise. Crestwood Lane stands where it always did. The difference is simple. It is mine, and it will remain that way. Quiet, documented, permanent.